Well, welcome in, everyone. It's Betting Weekly Live. It's Thursday, the 13th of February. You with Steve Wiss and James Eastham. It's Europa League and Europa Conference League return, the playoff round. So much to discuss. As always, for these Thursdays, it's James with me. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, Steve. We were just talking, weren't we, off air there with the guys about how many games we have on one night, 32 matches, 16 in each of the two competitions. So lots to look at, loads of different markets to look at. And be great to work our way through the card. We are going to cover every single game. We're obviously stronger on some games than others, but we will be talking about every single one of them.
We will. We're not going to leave any match in the dirt here. We'll be focusing on some more than others, but welcome into you all. Ray Burke, Leslie Mack, Datius, Paul Laguna, great to see you. Dave Clark, Justin Plzen. There's loads of others coming in. Ming Chung as well. Duncan Eben, Subahuman. Yesterday's show was a cracking one with me and Nigel. Nigel nailed it with Everton. What a great bet that was. And he also got it right with Feyenoord. Despite dissing the city, he certainly likes Feyenoord after yesterday. We need to give a bit of love to some other European cities today, James, and balance it back.
Yes.
Okay, let's... and a massive shout-out, actually, to Rory Giwani for delivering a giant slalom winner on the live show. I think it was on Monday, gave it out. But Brignone in the World Championships today, a winter sports winner on Betting Weekly Live, was the first. One of the most memorable winners on the show. So, yeah, superb stuff going across the field. Let us know what your best bets are today in the Europa League and the Conference League. We start things off with the outright market. Europa League first, and then we'll do the 4 early games for Europa as well. We've talked about this a lot before, how we're not sure Man United, Tottenham perhaps should be favourites here, James. One thing we do know is that they can't meet until the final. So they are in, whatever happens, they're in a separate side of the draw. I was having a look, and, there's a team that I suddenly quite like again, and I have a real love-hate relationship with this particular team. You can probably guess who it is, but suddenly, Lyon are tempting me again. Correct. At 16-1. Now, this is a very up-and-down team. They've got a new manager. In terms of the draw, they would play the winner of PAOK, FCSB, or Ajax or Union Saint-Gilloise. Yeah. So we know what their 4 opponents would be next. I think they'll get through that. After that, it's the quarterfinals and beyond. Yes. Can you support Lyon?
Completely. Yeah, I think they are now the value pick in that market. I think it's an open market in the sense that there isn't a standout team in the competition in the way that we could say there is in the Conference League. But I would agree with you. There's 2 reasons particularly why I would agree with you. The first is the change of manager they've had recently, sacking Pierre Sarge and bringing in Paulo Fonseca as their new manager. I wasn't particularly in favour of it. I think Pierre Sarge was very unlucky to be sacked. But they have brought in a manager who is pretty similar. So it's been a fairly smooth change. And the players look hungry and focused under Fonseca. So it's not been a bad change. The second reason, Steve, is that the window is now closed, transfer window that is, and Lyon still have a strong starting 11 and a strong squad. We were concerned that might not be the case because they have to raise money from player sales. They've managed to do that without selling any of their main players, really. Ryan Cherki being an example. He's still there. So I think looking at that market now, Lyon joint 8th favourite. I think they are on that list. I would be very tempted by that. Now that we know what we've got in terms of their squad and their manager for the rest of the season, they are outsiders to consider for sure.
Yeah, Effie mentions Frankfurt as well. The interesting thing is Lyon couldn't face Frankfurt until the final. So the same kind of applies. They're in the same bracket. We know what their 4 opponents could be. So, I would certainly think Frankfurt could make the quarterfinals. It can be complicated looking at the draw. In the top half, I think whoever of Lazio or Bilbao get drawn in the top half have a lovely route. One of those 2, I think, really should be a shoe-in to make the semi-finals at the very least. But then the bottom half of the draw is a lot tougher. So we don't know yet. The final draw is going to be made after the playoff round, but I think one of Bilbao or Lazio. Bilbao, we know you're on them outright, James. You tip them up in the newsletter. Let's hope they can get that top half draw, and then they'll be absolutely flying. Okay, then. I'm going through some comments here. Good to see you. Simon Holden must be loving life today after that late Everton draw. And they said draw last night. But yeah, morning to you all. Let's have a look at the early games. These kick off in about an hour and a half, just over an hour and a half. Fenerbahce, Anderlecht, Midtjylland, Sociedad, and Union Saint-Gilloise, Ajax, Ferencvaros, and Viktoria, Plzen. We've got a great graphic on the screen. John's been brilliant today. Hard work behind the scenes. We've got to qualify odds as well. I'll kick things off. Fenerbahce, Anderlecht here. And I've actually got an official bet for the game. Anderlecht +1 on the Asian handicap at close to evens. Main reason, Fenerbahce are depleted defensively. And to be honest with you, if you look at their results, James, they won twice in the group stage. They only won matches by 1 goal. They're quite happy, I think, to play the long game, as in over 2 legs, and stay in the tie. And I just don't see Fenerbahce blowing them out, personally. Anderlecht are a weird side, but they do have goals in them. -1 to anyone on that +1 Asian handicap. I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw in the first round, and I'm actually going to predict Anderlecht qualify +175. I'm not going to bet on it, but I actually think Anderlecht could qualify. So, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, well, I'm the same. I like Anderlecht to qualify, not because I think they're particularly better than Fenerbahce, but I do think the difference in price on the qualification market is a bit too big. Fenerbahce -400 to go through, Anderlecht +175 to go through. I'd rather be on Anderlecht there. I went 2-1 for the scoreline today. I think Fenerbahce, I know they're in good form. They have found some form, so they've got that in their favour. Anderlecht are difficult to read, but you're right, Steve. If you look at the group stage, and people will have different views on how important the group stage results are now. Some people may write them off, completely. Other people might think, well, it's a whole new competition. But I don't think it's something that I'll be writing off completely. And you have to say Anderlecht were pretty good in the group stage compared to Fenerbahce, finishing 10th rather than Fenerbahce's 24th. So I just felt it was a bit short on Fenerbahce, -182. No pick or lean from me on it, but I think it will be maybe a little bit closer. I see Dave Clark there thinking about Fenerbahce and over 2.5. I'm kind of saying that with my 2-1 home win. But yeah, like you, I would rather be on Anderlecht at the prices available in the to qualify market.
So you're saying 2-1 to Fenerbahce tonight. I'm saying 1-1. I'm giving an official pick +1 Asian handicap on Anderlecht at -121. And we both agree. We're saying Anderlecht to qualify, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to write these down. If we do well with them, I might get John to put a graphic up. If we do badly, we might never hear from them again. Yeah. Just looking through the comments now, Kit Kat is not around at the minute. He is a bit depressed that he predicted 2 red cards last night in the Everton game, but didn't get cashed out because it was after the final whistle. Yeah. So, we've all had some bad beats, and Kit Kat is new to the world of bad beats there now, but he might turn up at some point. Okay, second, let's go to a game that you've got to pick on, James. Union Saint-Gilloise against Ajax. Now, someone's actually asked in the comments whether there's been a venue switch here. As far as I'm aware, it is played in Brussels at a neutral venue. Union Saint-Gilloise's ground isn't fit enough for UEFA purposes. They are the favourites to win the first leg against Ajax, +133. Ajax, the dog here. But are -155 to qualify. Which is your side for this game, James?
Yeah, well, I am siding with Ajax here. It's one of my picks. It's Ajax on the Asian handicap with a +0.25 goal start at -121. So you will make a profit as long as Ajax avoid defeat on the night. And I am backing them to go through as well at -155 in the to qualify market. I just feel that it's a little bit too big on Ajax. They're clear outsiders here, and I feel for a team who are top of the Dutch First Division at the moment. It looked a little bit too big to me. They did better than Union Saint-Gilloise in the group stage. They finished 12th with Union Saint-Gilloise down in 21st. So I get it in one sense. I know Union Saint-Gilloise were unbeaten in the group stage at home. They did well in that respect, and they'll be confident, I think, tonight because of that. But I do think that Ajax's chances of getting something are a little bit underrated. So I wasn't going to back them to win it tonight +220. You might consider the tie +225. 1-1 would be my scoreline pick here. But I think Ajax in some way was the team I wanted to be with. So I'm going Asian handicap, as I say, +0.25, -121. I do think their chances of getting something are a little bit better than the market would suggest.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a pick'em line, to be honest with you, around the Asian handicap 0. I'm with you, actually. 1-1 draw is my prediction here. And over the 2 legs, definitely Ajax for me. I think -155 to qualify. If you don't mind those odds, then that's worth taking, definitely. I don't see them over 2 legs struggling against Union Saint-Gilloise. There is actually 79% of the money and then 78% of the tickets are on Ajax. So they would agree with you there, James, and I can certainly see why. Do you see, I presume you see Ajax over 2 legs as well?
Yeah, they would be my pick at -155 to qualify. Union Saint-Gilloise plus 110 to go through. Again, I get the home advantage that Union Saint-Gilloise have got might favour them tonight because they've done well at home. But I think over the 2 legs, I feel Ajax are the favourites, and that price of -155 to me on Ajax to qualify makes sense.
There is a house special on this game with Bet Rivers, Union Saint-Gilloise to score 2 or more and win against Ajax at +160. So if you do like that, then do head to the specials market. By the way, the most wagered game so far in the Europa League is Fenerbahce Anderlecht, the one we talked about first. Biggest handle on that game. 98% of the money is on Fenerbahce. Very popular bet today in that market. Another early Europa League game is FC Midtjylland, the Danish champions against Real Sociedad. And immediately I was drawn to under 2.5 goals here, James, just because of Real Sociedad are involved in so many low-scoring fixtures, and also the weather can be about -2 degrees in Denmark. I don't really think it's going to be their sort of thing. The Danish league hasn't resumed yet. Is that a negative for FC Midtjylland or not?
Yeah, probably. It was a game I left alone in the end because there's a lot of conflicting information, really, or not information, but statistics and trends you can look at. So I tend to agree with you. I looked at the unders on this game as well. Against that, you have to say Midtjylland, they've got a really good record of scoring at home, not always scoring a lot of goals, but scoring in a lot of their home games. I think it's going back over 20 home games now they've scored. They have that in their favour, but I'm always reluctant, Steve, to get involved in games with teams who are out of action, which affects a lot of the Scandinavian teams. I know you follow it a lot more closely than I do, so I always bow to your knowledge on this, but it was enough to put me off, really. I looked at maybe a 1-1 scoreline, which would then cover the fact that Midtjylland have got a good scoring record, but Sociedad are the favourites and obviously have been in action recently and are a little bit more match ready, if you like. Sociedad really obvious favourites to go through. They're -500 to qualify. I would expect them to qualify. They would be my pick to go through with Sociedad, but -500 obviously won't really appeal to a lot of people. So, yeah, not really strong views on this. I think 1-1 scoreline, Sociedad to go through would be fair, but looking at the prices available and that great big uncertainty over, what sort of shape are Midtjylland going to be in, it's really a game for me to leave alone this.
Yeah, it's just a lean for me at -143 under 2.5 goals. Who put there? Yeah, someone put in the chat, but they like taking both teams score. Yes, here at -114, and I could see 1-1. I could actually see a 1-1 draw. I'm actually going to predict a 1-0 win for Real Sociedad here, and get them to grind one out. But I don't like their away record in Europe this season. 2 losses, 1 defeat, 1 draw, and just that 1 win, which is away, I think, against the Israeli side on neutral turf. So that puts me off. I don't think their players are going to enjoy the conditions here in the cold. I think it could be maybe a poor game. So, Real Sociedad over 2 legs definitely should qualify. I think, James, we both agree there. And you're going 1-1 on the night?
And I'm going 1-1 on the night, yeah.
There we go, yeah. -500 Real Sociedad to qualify. That would be a nice parlay piece I think you could add there. Ferencvaros, Turkish team, Hungarian side against Viktoria Plzen from the Czech League. Another cold night here in Budapest. Do check the weather forecast if you're betting on games. It could impact things today. This is a tough one to call with the books in the first leg. +170 for Ferencvaros here. Plzen +163. I do personally think the best bet on this match is Viktoria Plzen to qualify. -155. I think they're the better team over the 2 legs. I think it's the better league. But in leg 1, I'm not so sure. Nothing really. I think it'd be low scoring. I think it'd be under. But I think if I'm going to bet on anything, and this is one of one of those I'm really considering strongly in the to qualify market at minus 155. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think we've got different views on this. So I have gone really strong here on overs, actually. It's hard to know, really. When you've got the two teams like this who are really well matched in the group stage, if you look at where they finished, right next door to each other in the group table, not a lot in it. I have gone strongly on overs here. That was my pick at the start of the week. I just feel if you look at the games they played in the group stage, a lot of them were overs involving these two sides. So that would be my view. Maybe 2-1. I would say Ferencvaros. And in terms of qualifying, again, I looked at this, and it's one of those where I don't have a strong view on it. It's not one of my picks for the round or one of my picks for the night. I would go Ferencvaros to go through, just on the basis that I didn't see any real difference between them in standard in the group stage, and they are the outsiders of two to qualify. Ferencvaros at the moment plus 110, Viktoria Plzen minus 155. So I lean towards Ferencvaros. We should say, obviously, on these to qualify prices, Steve, people have only got until really kickoff, haven't they, for these to qualify? Because obviously, the minute we have score lines and results and live in running betting tonight, these will all change. So that would be my view. I'm going overs. I'm 2-1 scoreline and Ferencvaros to qualify, but this is not really one of my picks. It's one of the games to leave alone. I think the market there is interesting, isn't it? When you've got a game with 3 plus money outcomes on the night, as we have here, it shows that there's no clear favourite, and it's one of those where the prices will probably change quite dramatically once we know how this first leg has played out.
Yeah, it's one of those rare instances where we are kind of against each other here. I know this was at the start of the week, your newsletter pick, and you've got to get one in there early. And overs on the stats do make sense, to be fair. I don't know what I'm going to predict for the first leg here. 1-1. If in doubt, go 1-1, right? But over the two legs, for me, it's Plzen. I do like the minus 155 to qualify. Do see quite a lot of the chat support you here, James, on the over. A lot liking goals in this first leg, rivalry between the two nations as well. So that is something to consider, perhaps. Let me just get some data for that game for everyone. And it's close. 55% of the money is on Viktoria Plzen, so it's really split. Yeah. And just 58% of the money is on the over. So this is a proper toss them up game for those out there can't decide which way this one will go. So that is the early games in the Europa League sorted. We now move to Conference League, and to start things off, the outright market. Chelsea at minus 155. Is anyone out there willing just to stay, pretty big on them right now to win a competition which wouldn't be lifted until the end of May? I mean, I'm not arguing with the odds too much, but it just seems really short. Fiorentina, then Real Betis, Victoria Guimarães. We've got a special graphic that John's created for us here for the draw in the Conference League. It's absolutely brilliant. And basically, we've got a top half and a bottom half. What we do know is that Chelsea will be either in the PO1 match or the PO8 match, and Victoria Guimarães will be in the opposite side. So if we look at this lineup here, the way I see it is someone, even if Chelsea make the final, someone will play them in the final. So you can gamble now and hope to maybe bet on a team that will be in the opposite half to Chelsea. It'd be a 50-50 call for a lot of them. The only team we know can't meet until the final is Victoria. Or you can wait until this playoff round's done and we know where Chelsea are, because it's a bit like Deal or No Deal, the game show. Chelsea are like the 250,000 box here. Everyone wants rid of it. You've got any thoughts on the Conference League outright? Is there a team?
Yeah. Well, it's weird. On the one hand, it's ridiculous to be minus money with so many teams left in the competition. I get that. On the other, when I look through the other teams in the competition, I can't see Chelsea not winning it unless they have a horrendous round. And it's to me, it's very unlikely. So I do think their odds on price, their minus money price, is actually justified. They are that good, I think, compared to what is a fairly weak field. I think Fiorentina justifiably second favourites, and in a final, could they beat Chelsea over 90 minutes? They could, especially if Chelsea continue to play some of their backup players in the competition. Yeah, we were talking off air, Steve, weren't we, about what do they do if they get to the final? Do they then strengthen the side if they can? I don't think they will do that because obviously you've got the issue of whether you've named the players in the squad for the competition. But I also think the manager would be aware that it would be, potentially catastrophic for squad morale to drop too many players who've actually been playing game after game in this competition and have got the club to the final. So I do think Chelsea will continue with their policy of using some of their backup players, and they are still, for me, the strongest team in the competition, even when they do that. But yeah. It's difficult to oppose them. I mean, I wouldn't want to back them at this stage with so many teams left in it at minus 155 to win the competition. But at the same time, like I say, they are clearly, for me, the strongest side in the competition, and they should win it.
Yeah, they should win it. I'm gonna throw 3 names out there who could be worth a go. And these are big prices actually. Rapid Vienna, FC Copenhagen, and Molde. And Rapid Vienna, one of their big advantages, they wouldn't face Fiorentina until the final. So that is one dog that they've avoided there. FC Copenhagen's an interesting one because they could draw Chelsea next if they get through Heidenheim. But if Chelsea are in the other half of the draw, I think FC Copenhagen have got a nice route, potentially. Yeah. Experience in Europe. It's a tough place to go, Parken. And similarly, Molde as well. If Chelsea end up in that bottom section there, they're all gone. Chelsea won't be troubled too much by them. The team that maybe the only 2 teams I think could beat Chelsea over 2 legs would be Fiorentina and possibly Real Betis. And even then, it's stretching it. In a one-off game in the final, I mean, I suppose anything could happen. But just some names to throw out there. Yeah, I'm not actually going to strike. I am going to bottle this and wait until the draw's made, and then I will attack the half where Chelsea are not in, potentially. But yeah, do let us know if anyone is backing anything outright in Conference League. Why someone said that their mate backed Copenhagen at the start to win it. That must have been about 100 to 1, maybe something like that, maybe 75. Not sure. But we've got early games to discuss in the Conference League. My newsletter pick is in the Celje match here against Apoel Nicosia. Over 2.5 goals for me, minus 122, just based on stats, but also the way the teams play. I've seen quite a bit of the Slovenian side, Celje, since the qualifying rounds. Really, they've got a really open style of play. They play attacking football, lots of goals. Apoel Nicosia, I think, a little bit more tricky to read, but from what I've seen of them, they're decent on the counter attack. So I'm hoping that both teams can contribute here, and I think the first leg could be a 2-2 draw. And to qualify, that's a much more difficult question. Actually, I don't know here. I mean, Apoel are actually a big favourite. I'm not sure whether I trust them at minus 305. I'm gonna go with Apoel just, but it's a tough one for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I was the same. I've gone for Apoel just as well. It's not particularly appealing at minus 305. I side with you on the game tonight. I went 2-1 win for Apoel Nicosia, so an overs game, but not strongly. And I think, if you look at the group stage, Apoel Nicosia probably do deserve their favoritism to go through the tie. They're narrow favourites tonight, plus 150 to win. So yeah, I can see it. And I think an away win tonight, 2-1 for me was my pick. But again, not a strong pick or lean for me on this game. It was one of the games that I would really leave alone.
That would certainly do me very nicely, indeed, James. No problem with that. I like the overs there. Let's look at the next one on the early slate for the Conference League. Oh, goodness me, this is a tricky one. Backa Topola. I always get their pronunciation terrible. Against Jagiellonia Bialystok. That is a proper mouthful.
Yes.
The Polish champions are minus 110 favourites here. Now, I think over the 2 legs, Jagiellonia certainly will make it through. The first leg is a little bit trickier, but the side here, TSC, actually only 9th domestically in the Serbian league. Yeah, I've got written down here no bet for the first leg, and I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw, but this is tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I've gone 1-0 away win here. There's a couple of things I think worth flagging up on this game, which again, it's not one of the games I would be getting involved in. But the first is that TSC at home, they only really squeezed through here, didn't they? I think it was on goals scored. They qualified as the 24th team in there, so they're not in great form either domestically or in this competition. Seeing goals there, and one of the comments, I'm not sure about that myself. I think as well, the visitors here, Jagiellonia, they had a brilliant defensive record in the group stage. That is something to flag up. I think they only conceded 5 goals, which was one of the best defensive records. So they've got that in their favour. They do look a much stronger outfit. So I'm backing them 1-0 here, which would take into account they have done well defensively and they should win. And they're minus 435 to go through, which again, I would support them to go through.
We might have just lost you on the audio there, James. I can't hear you. Don't think. Yeah, see if we can maybe resume that one. But going back to TSC here against Jagiellonia. For me personally, this is a match where I think over the 2 legs, the Jagiellonia get the job done. A lot saying goals here. Over 2.5 is at minus 165. They are the better team. They could come and romp here. I think, I will say a 2-1 away win. You've said 1-0 away. Do we have that fixed yet, James, or not?
Yes, we do. I think we do. Yeah, we're back.
Yes, perfect. So 1-0 for you, first leg, but no.
Yeah, 1-0 for me, but like it's not one that I would focus on a lot. I think it's a difficult one because you've got a big gulf in quality as regards what the market thinks. And when you're not sure yourself, and I'm not particularly sure myself, I tend to leave it alone, I think.
The Polish league, by the way, I've never really bet in it, but it's always very random. The top 4 all lost in Poland at the weekend. I mean, what league can you ever say that about, really? It's so random. It really is. But yeah, no bet for us there. There is a match I'm very interested in. I've got the wrong graphic up there completely. Trying to find, where is my flipping graphic? There we go. Molde Shamrock Rovers. Molde, I've been keeping my eye on this game. This is the most wagered game on the Conference League card tonight. So there's plenty of action here. And most of the action is on Molde. I got a feeling they could win convincingly against Shamrock Rovers. I like the handicap minus 1.5 on Molde at minus 117. I've got quite a few potential suggestions for this game, actually. Let me just find my notes for it. Molde have got a brand new manager for this season. I actually really like what I'm seeing there. I think they could even win the Norwegian title this season. The manager they brought in is a guy called Hogmo, who won the Swedish league with a team called Häcken. Against all odds, no one expected it. Very good coach, experienced, has coached at national team level before. The assistant manager, or he's listed as a coach, is actually a manager in his own right called Paco Johansson, who is a very talented coach in that region. He managed a team called Odd in Norway. Didn't really do a lot wrong there for me. So you've kind of got almost 2 managers in charge, an older body and then a younger, more coach who can bring new ideas. They've got a decent squad. Apparently, they're going to solve the injury problems they've had in the last 2 years with a different regime. I loved what he said in a press conference, actually, at Hogmo. And he said, what can the fans expect? And he said, the fans should expect Molde can be a team that will dominate for long periods. We should be skilled in the balance game, aggressive in the pressure, and be top-notch throughout the full 90 minutes. We should show the passion that the fans love to see. And this is a club that don't give much away. He gave a full injury status on the players.
Yeah.
In the past, Molde, it's been trying to get blood out of a stone with them. Yeah. They keep their cards close to their chest. It feels like a new era. I really like what I'm seeing. And I think they'll win convincingly against a Shamrock Rovers team who their league hasn't started either yet. But usually, I mean, no disrespect, the League of Ireland teams do lack quality.
Yeah, well, it's tricky, isn't it? If you look again, I've mentioned the value or otherwise of the group stage. They did really well, didn't they, Shamrock Rovers? I think they finished 10th in the group stage, way ahead of Molde, actually, if you look at the final league table. So you can look at that and think, well, hang on a minute, why is Shamrock Rovers plus 800 to win the game? But, I looked at it, and I tend to agree with you in the end, Steve. I think, class will out probably, and I think Molde are, the heavyweight team of the two here. They're minus 335 on the night to win. Maybe a bit short for some people who would have concerns about, the changes there and whether they might need a little bit of time to come to fruition. But it's very difficult to look past them. I went 2-0 in the end as a score prediction on the night, and I'm backing Molde to go through. Minus 500 again will have very little appeal for people, I think, but I do think they will go through. So not a strong game for me, not one that I've particularly focused on, but I do tend to think that in the end, the form that Shamrock Rovers showed in the group stage, it might not actually be that useful for them when they take on Molde, I think, in this game.
Yeah, and just to add to that, cold conditions, although not too dissimilar to what they're used to in Ireland, in fairness, Shamrock Rovers. Artificial pitch, which I think is a big thing. Molde know how to play on this surface. Some teams don't like coming here. I like some of the other suggestions coming up. Effie there, over 2.5 team total goals, plus 115. I even looked at over 3.5 at plus 335 because I'm predicting a 4-0 win here for Molde. That's my correct score prediction for the night. Win to nil is at plus 110. I would cover the 1-0 over 16.5 shots. I think they should cover that. Mayowo, yeah, I do. Paul Laguna, yeah. Shamrock Rovers not to score. If you do fear that 0-0, I'm really struggling to see how they don't get a win in the first leg unless they're a bit cold from no competitive action. But they've played about 4 or 5 friendlies. A goal scorer to watch out for: Magnus Wolf Eikram, plus 190. 35-year-old technician. He'll be on all the free kicks. He might even be on a penalty. Had injury problems the last 2 years, but reportedly should be starting this match for Molde. He's very, very good technically, who could dominate this game. Plus 190 score anytime with Bet Rivers. And that minus 1.5 handicap is for me one of the best bets of the night. Okay, we've got one more early game to discuss. Vikingur Reykjavik against Panathinaikos. The match, this is the Icelandic team against Greek opposition, but the match isn't even being played in Iceland. It's being played in Finland at HJK Stadium, which immediately, that's a red flag to me when we're on neutral venue like this, and I just struggle to get involved.
Yeah, me too. And the prices, they were going to favour Panathinaikos anyway. They were always going to be favourites, I think, to get through this tie, and I think that's just fed into making them even stronger favourites. So I think they're minus 278 when I looked to win the game on the night of Panathinaikos. They're minus 2,000 to qualify. I mean, in a 2-horse race, when you're minus 2,000, it shows what the market thinks of Vikingur. And yeah, I wouldn't argue. I would say, yeah, Panathinaikos to qualify makes sense. Panathinaikos, I've got them 2-1 on the night to win, but I wouldn't get involved in this game because there's a lot of uncertainty about how that venue will affect the game, and also because the prices on Panathinaikos are pretty unappealing, even if you do think that, like I do, that they will win and qualify.
Yeah, I've got 2-0 to Panathinaikos first leg here. What are you going with, James?
Yeah, 2-1.
2-1 to Panathinaikos. Yeah, they actually had a 17-game unbeaten run in all comps, ended recently by 2 defeats in the Cup and the League. Vikingur, I mean, does anyone bet in the Icelandic Cup or whatever it is, pre-season cup? They got beaten by some teams that beat them in this cup recently. Were huge prices at 13-1, 7-1, and 4-1. I've no idea how seriously Vikingur would take in those matches, but there's some huge odds there that they got beat by. Maybe concerning form heading in for them. Panathinaikos will go through over the 2 legs. If Vikingur get through here, I'll go there myself and watch the game this year. They came through. First leg, maybe they've got more of a chance, but yeah, I've got to go 2-0, but no bet for the game. I think under 3 goals at minus 136 maybe could be an angle in, but yeah, we guesswork on these neutral venues. Okay, early games. Have I missed one out? I didn't miss one out there. We're on to the Europa League late fixtures. Some really tasty ones here, James. Yeah. I'm going to start with a match, PAOK against FCSB, because someone was mentioning this in the chat that both sides are missing players. Could be, I think, an under. Someone was suggesting. I mean, they actually met in the group stage, 1-0 win for FCSB. Although there were nearly 30 shots for PAOK in that game, didn't score. Can they get their revenge here?
Well, maybe they can, but I'm siding with FCSB here. They're my pick. Interesting about the team news. I'm going unders on the game anyway, but the pick is actually on FCSB because they are such big price to win. They're plus 380 to win. PAOK at home are minus 136. So, yeah, my pick would be FCSB on the handicap. They're available, with a plus 0.75 start on the Asian handicap at minus 121. I think you'll get a pretty good run for your money there, because I was quite impressed by them in the group stage, FCSB. You mentioned that we had this game played out in the group stage. It was on October the 3rd, match day 2. FCSB won it 1-0. You're right. They did lose it quite heavily in terms of XG. There were a lot of shots on target, but they did play with 10 men, did FCSB, I think, for 35 minutes in that game. And I think that was a factor in the way the game played out. And yet they did still manage to hold on and win the game. And they did also finish, a lot higher than PAOK in the final table. So I was a bit surprised at the price here, plus 380 on the night. And that's why I'm going on them on the Asian handicap. I think they can be competitive here. 1-0 win for FCSB was my pick. And I like them to go through as well. They're plus 140 to qualify. The home team tonight are minus 200 to qualify. So I'm going to stick with them, and based on what I saw of them in the group stage, where I thought they were fairly competitive. 1-0 win tonight for the visitors, plus 0.75 on the Asian handicap tonight on the visitors, and plus 140 to qualify. They would be my play.
Yeah, very interesting thoughts. I agree what you say about FCSB. They dig in hard, don't they? I followed them since the qualifying rounds as well, and just a tough side to beat. Like to give a good account of themselves, well hardened up. The Romanian league is remarkable at the minute. The top 5 are separated by 1 point. So every week they're probably getting a lot of very competitive games. I've been sucked into the PAOK home trap before. They have the best away record in Greece, but home record is not good. So I wonder if that is their style. They're better suited on the road. Yeah. So at minus 136 on the money line, I think I'm not going to get involved. I'm actually predicting 0-0.
Yeah,
this is my 0-0 of the night. Yeah. What were you thinking? Draw here or win?
I've gone 1-0 at 1-0 FCSB, but I mean that's quite a statement, isn't it? Given they're plus 380 to win the game, I'm leaning towards unders anyway, Steve. So I get where you're coming from, and I just feel they've been so difficult to beat against anybody other than better teams than what they're facing tonight. I think they've got a fair chance of getting a result here.
What about to qualify then? We got PAOK at minus 200 and FCSB plus 140. I mean, you predict them to win tonight. Overall, do you think the Romanians can go through?
Yeah, I am going to back them, plus 140. It's one of those where I did take the price into account here. Listen, if it was a 50-50 call, I may have looked at it slightly differently. But again, I felt they were the better of the two teams in the group stage. And I don't actually see why they should be plus 140 to go through with PAOK minus 200. So, yeah, I'm backing them to qualify plus 140. I'd be happy to take that.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict FCSB to qualify as well, and they might even be worth a nibble. This feels like I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 draws here and we get penalties, things like that. Basically, I think the odds are wrong. That's the way I see it myself. Going back to the card, Twente, Bodo, Glimt. I know there was a few questions directed at me about this game. I really like the over here. I think over 3 goals. Asian is at evens with Bet Rivers now. Basically, I mean, anyone who follows Bodo Glimt over the last 5 years knows how they play. It's aggressive, it's open, in your face. Don't know how that match against Nice didn't go over, James. Both teams should have had so many chances. Twente have just been involved in a 3-3 draw at the weekend in the Netherlands. And most of their games domestically go over. Europa League, less so. 6 out of 8, under 2.5. And I think it could be to do with opponents that they face, like Union Saint-Gilloise, teams like that. I think if you can, the 1-0 against Besiktas should have been more goals. And I think Bodo Glimt will suck them into a shootout here. Glimt, for me, to qualify is a bet actually at minus 110. I think is the price here. Yeah, minus 125. They are now the favourites to qualify. I just think if they can avoid defeat first leg, they'll get the job done in Norway. Renowned tough place to go. And this is the team, by the way, they've said one of their ambitions this season is to qualify for the Champions League in the summer. If you're not getting past Twente, I'm sorry, you're not going to get anywhere near the Champions League. So, I mean, Twente, I don't think they're not as good as AZ for me at all as a comparison on the matches tonight. Don't know how nice the city of Enschede is either, James. Maybe better than Rotterdam.
Well, I think Nigel would say so. Yeah, no, I don't know either. I'm the same as you, Steve. I'm backing Bodo to go through on the to qualify market minus 125. I would back that. I'm going against the trend with the scoreline. I'm going to go 1-1 for the scoreline, which is a little bit against the trend. Certainly, you mentioned there domestically, but it's sort of sticking with the trend, I guess, in this competition for Twente. Is it a slight surprise that Twente are minus money to win on the night? If Bodo Glimt are favourites to go through, I'm not sure, maybe, but like you say, it's all about the second leg really, and the fact that maybe the market thinks that Bodo Glimt can get it done when they go back to Norway. So, yeah, it wasn't a strong one for me, Steve. I decided I would leave Bodo Glimt to you really, but I think to qualify minus 125 on the visitors tonight would be worth it, and I am backing them, as I say, to avoid defeat here. 1-1 draw would be my scoreline pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the 2-2 draw here, first leg, and as I say, official bet over 3 goals at evens, and Bodo Glimt to qualify minus 125. That would be an official play for me over the 2 legs. I'll just get you a betting split for that particular game before we're done here. If I can actually find it, 74% of the money is on Twente for the first leg, and 96% of the money is on the over. That doesn't surprise me at all. Benny, we are going to talk about the Porto game very, very soon, as I just put it up on the card now. But we will do AZ Alkmaar against Galatasaray first. Galatasaray unbeaten domestically. I didn't actually realise that until I was looking today. But I think they could be vulnerable here, James. There's big suspensions for Gala. Not travelled well in Europe this season. The draw no bet on AZ Alkmaar definitely has appeal, in my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I found this difficult, this game. It was one I'm going to leave alone in terms of picks and leans. Again, it's one of those matches I think there's reasons you can both support and oppose both of these sides. So, AZ, looking at them first of all, how good are they? I'm not quite sure. This was a group stage match, wasn't it? I think it was 1-1 in the group stage. So there's no real sense that they are necessarily stronger than Galatasaray. I think they finished below them in the group stage as well. Then Galatasaray, you've mentioned team news. The other thing about them is they were really high scoring in the group stage, weren't they? I think they got 19 goals, but they conceded a lot of goals as well. So I'm not quite sure how good they are as an overall side. The prices looked about right to me.
I think we've lost you on the mic again, James. Microphone issues again there. So hopefully you can get that back. I'll just continue on here where you might have left off, but we still can't hear you there, James. There, unless it's my problem. No, it's not.
I think I'm back.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. You're back.
Apologies, everybody. Just on Galatasaray, Steve, saying the trend on them in the competition is obviously to be high scoring. They've been involved in a lot of high scoring matches. I'm going 1-1 on the game tonight, which is slightly against the trend, but I think you're going to get better value odds, I think, on the unders and the overs. It wasn't a game that for me stood out. It's one of those where the prices look probably about right. I don't really fancy either side tonight, to be honest with you. And when you look at to qualify prices, Galatasaray are really short, which in one sense I get. They're minus 250 to go through. But I'm not convinced that the difference in quality between the two sides is quite as good as the market would suggest. So tricky game to read. It should be quite entertaining from what we've seen from these two sides so far, but a tricky game to read.
I really like AZ draw no bet here at minus 130. I do believe it is now. Main reason is the suspensions. Davinson Sanchez, Lucas Torreira, Victor Osimhen, all out for Galatasaray. They've got injuries as well, or doubts with injury defensively. It's a great chance for AZ. Could be a draw here, but if you're on draw no bet, you're not going to lose anything. And I'm going to predict an AZ win, 2-1 in the first leg. But I do think Galatasaray will go through overall. Who do you think will qualify?
Yeah, I do too. Slightly reluctantly because that price, like I say, so short, minus 250. But I do think over the two legs, Galatasaray will go through.
Yeah, Reese Williams does agree with me. He says bet of the day, I think. Alkmaar money line for him or draw no bet. Troy Parrott, of course, has been in great form this season. Former Spurs man. I was trying to think of a pun for him today, but I couldn't quite. Maybe you, the chat, can think of a good one there. But I'm not sure what price he is any time. But this is one of the biggest wagered games of the day, by the way. This and the Bodo Glimt game, very in the top 5 for wagered games in the Europa League. Porto-Roma, big game, maybe the biggest game of the night actually in terms of reputation. Porto plus 175, Roma plus 185. I mean, before this round, I was thinking maybe take Porto first leg. Then I saw how bad Sporting were in the Champions League. Benfica played all right last night. Where do Porto fit in this conundrum of Portuguese teams, James?
Yeah, it's hard to know. Again, there's lots of reasons to oppose both teams, actually, you could say. Porto haven't been in great form, have they, generally? I think they've only won 1 in their last 7 or 8 games now. So it kind of maybe is built into the price there because they're favourites, but very narrow favourites at plus 175. And Roma, I've really liked what Claudio Ranieri has done. We've obviously followed them closely on our weekly show, haven't we? Looking at their form in Serie A, they've definitely improved, but they've yet to win, I think, away from home in this competition. And they haven't always played, I don't think, as well in this competition since Ranieri took over as they have in Serie A. So looking at the prices, I would actually go on the tie here. I mean, if you're looking for a bet on the match odds, I would go the tie. I'm predicting a 1-1 scoreline. I think you'll get a good run for your money there because, as I say, they're both decent sides, but I don't really fancy either one strongly enough to suggest they're going to win it on the night. So 1-1 would be my scoreline prediction or the tie. And then looking at the to qualify market, I would back Roma. I think there's enough there with what Ranieri's doing at the moment to suggest they'll go through. They are favourites. They're minus 139 to qualify. Porto are plus 100. I would back Roma to get the job done over the 2 legs, minus 139. But I think tonight's game will be pretty tight and pretty close.
I agree with you. 1-1 draw, my prediction on the night. Roma to qualify overall. I do think they'll win the second leg in Rome. And I'm a bit of a romanticist at times. I'd like to see Claudio Ranieri have a good run in this competition. If not win it, then go deep. And I just think they've got to, they might as well give it a go. I mean, in Serie A, they're going to be, mid-table-ish? Yeah. This is surely eventually a priority for Roma. Porto, for me, are the conundrum. I don't really know what level they're at the minute, Porto. They could be anything on the night. I don't like a bet for the game, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
No bet here. To qualify, I wouldn't bet on it either, but I do think Roma. I'm hoping this ends a draw or even Porto win, and then next week I will pile into Roma definitely to win the second leg. If they need to win the second leg, I think they will win it. So yeah, that's the 5th most wagered game of the day in the Europa League. 55% of the money is on the over, so over-under's really split here. I'm guessing it'll be a lot of 2-1 predictions and maybe a lot of 1-1 predictions as well. Conference League late games. There's a couple here you actually really like, James, isn't there? We'll start you off with this. I never expected this in a million years when you sent me official picks over today. But the Cypriot match between 2 Cypriot teams, Omonia Nicosia and Paphos. Our very own Dan Roebuck, I do believe, is on commentary duty for this on the World Feed. I have absolutely nothing for this game at all. So when it came over, you have a strong fancy, don't you?
I do, yeah. No, I really like this game. And you mentioned we should be giving a bit of love to some of the cities we're covering tonight after Nigel made his views clear on Rotterdam. So a bit of love out to Paphos. I had a great holiday there and I'm a big fan of it. So that's not really, I should say, informing my bet on the game. I'm entirely objective, but I am a fan. But yeah, I like this. I'll tell you why, Steve. I think when you've got a derby, well, I call it a derby, 2 Cypriot sides going head to head here, at least you can kind of compare the two in a meaningful sense, because obviously they're in the same division. And, I'm slightly surprised to see Paphos as the underdogs on the night. Yes, they're the away team. When I was looking at the prices earlier, though, I was like, well, would I rather be on the hosts at plus 155 or would I rather be on Paphos at plus 175? I would rather be on Paphos. And the reason for that is they are top of this division and they're 10 points clear of Omonia Nicosia in the domestic league. And I think, you can't actually dismiss that as anything other than important information, because going into this game, it's a one-off. Yes, you can argue it's a different competition, and that's fair. But I think that clear superiority that they've got in the domestic league does count for something. So they were my lean were Paphos. I don't quite fancy them on the money line, but Paphos Tino bet at -104 is what I would be going for on the game. I think they do have a chance of avoiding defeat here because their league form would show that they are the better of the two sides. So it's only a lean, really. But as I say, a lot of these games are between two teams who've never met before. You're having to kind of compare across different leagues, which is hard. And I think a game like this, where you can at least look at the way the two teams have fared against each other over the course of a season, it can be quite useful. So it was Paphos for me as a lean. Tino bet, as I say, -104. I'm going to go with them to win on the night. If I was having to go for a correct score, I'd go 1-0. And they are very short to qualify. They're -182 to qualify. But again, I would stick with them and back them to qualify. So that would be my sort of way of seeing the tie. But on the night, they would be my lean on the Tino bet market.
Yeah, I think that's some very good points. They are domestically well clear. And I mean that -182, I think that could be quite a big price looking back over the two legs. You would expect Paphos to have enough. I'm actually going to predict 0-0 here. I just think maybe the first leg, two domestic rivals might give each other a bit more respect and not want to lose it. But I think that could be the right side, certainly, or the under, potentially, in the game. It's a tricky one. Francisco Martins, I do believe you're a Porto fan, right? Pretty sure he is. If you're Benfica, then I do apologise. But he's made some very good points there about the new Porto manager. So you can bear that in mind for everyone there. All the money, 97% of the money is on Nicosia, by the way, for this game. That just feels really lazy betting to me. Just look at a home team and think, we'll bet on them. And that sometimes isn't the way. You've got to look beyond that. Let's go with Boruc Banja Luka against Olimpia Ljubljana. This I've got written down. I actually did have a good look at the game, to be fair. But sometimes the more you look at a game, the less you like betting on it. And this is what happened with me here.
Yeah.
I think over the two legs, I mean, Slovenia, this is the teams, Ljubljana, at top of the Slovenian league, quite clear, one loss domestically. Over the two legs, they should have enough. They're regularly used to being in Champions League qualified, stuff like that. This is maybe a little bit of an awkward trip on the night, though. So I'm not sure about the first leg, James. I've got this down as a 2-1 away win, but I really couldn't say it with any confidence.
No, same. It was not a game that I was particularly keen to get involved in. I've gone 2-0 away win. I'm like you, Steve. I think they should get the win. They're -335 to qualify. I would back them to qualify. Well, I would think they would qualify. Whether I would back them at that price, I don't know. One thing to point out about Ljubljana, they had a lot of clean sheets in the group stage. Suggests that against a weaker side like they're facing tonight, they should be confident, because if you're able to keep, I think they had 4 clean sheets in the group stage, which is pretty impressive. So they are the better of the two sides in terms of pedigree, and also they did finish higher than the two in the group stage. So yeah, they would be my shout on the night, but it's not one of my preferred games, I have to say.
Yeah, same here. Coach Zanko, welcome in. How do you think the Slovenian teams are going to get on today, Zanko, Celje and Ljubljana? Are they going to get results for your nation today? FC Copenhagen against Heidenheim. For me, Copenhagen are a bet here. -141 now on the money line. My only doubt is that they're coming out of a winter break and they could be a little bit rusty. But this Heidenheim team, again, I've said it before, this is like facing Bundesliga 2 opposition. I believe they could well be relegated from the Bundesliga. They've lost 12 out of 15 games in all competitions. They're just not very good. FC Copenhagen were beating the likes of Man United last season in the Champions League. And Parken is a renowned venue, about 45,000, 50,000 seater stadium. Not saying that Heidenheim will be intimidated by that. They've been to places like Dortmund, they've been to places like Bayern and give a good account of themselves. But on the European stage, I think it's a big thing. Experience. These are minnows. First leg FCK, for me, get the job done here. I mean, sometimes Heidenheim have done me dirty, but this season, I think I've been proven right, really, on the field, what's developed with them. Would you agree with me here or not?
Yeah, I would. I've gone 2-1 for Copenhagen to win tonight, and I would support them to qualify. They're the favourites at minus 134 to qualify. So not massive favourites. Heidenheim minus 106 to qualify, but I would go Copenhagen minus 134. The issue, as you say, Steve, the concern, if you like, with Copenhagen is their lack of competitive action. But I do think they should be. I mean, in a way, they'll be fired up, right? I mean, what a great competitive game this will be in a competition where they'll be looking to go, fairly deep, I would think. So I support them to win tonight. It's not a game where I've got a leaner pick, but I think they should win 2-1. I think is fair, and as I say, to qualify, minus 134 on Copenhagen would be my pick.
Yeah, I like FC Copenhagen to qualify as well. I'm going to predict 3-1 win for the first leg. I actually really hope that it does go over the first leg, because the second leg could really explode. I think Heidenheim will just go for broke if they're trailing. The winner of this tie has a 50-50 chance of facing Chelsea, of course, in the next round, which is another carrot really for both, for sure. But I really like that. Minus 141, FC Copenhagen to win today would be one of my better bets in Europa League. And we've got one more match to talk about. It's quite a big one. Ghent against Real Betis. There were some comments about Real Betis in the chat earlier saying they didn't at all prioritise this competition. That's maybe why they didn't get in the top 8. But now, are they going to take it a bit more seriously or not, do you think, James?
Well, they might do, but I really like Ghent here. And it is a lean for me to support Ghent, that you can back them on the handicap at pretty good prices, because obviously they're big outsiders, as you can see with the price there. So, Ghent or tie, minus 124, is really appealing, I think. Two reasons for it. The first is that Ghent had a really good home record in the group phase. They were unbeaten in their 3 group games at home. They scored 6 times and they only conceded once. So they'll be fairly confident, I think. They're obviously facing better opposition here, but they will be fairly confident. And the second reason is that Betis didn't really impress away from home either. They lost 2 out of their 3 away games in the group stages. One of those defeats was to Mlada Boleslav, who've gone out of the competition, right? So, again, you can argue how valuable is the group stage, and obviously I'm not looking at the league form there or the fact that Betis are in a stronger league. So there are other factors that can be taken into account, but it was more about whether the price was a fair reflection of the difference in quality. It's not so much saying that Betis aren't the stronger of the 2 sides or shouldn't be favourites to go through or anything like that. It was more really looking at whether the prices can be justified. And I just felt, given what I saw in the group stage, Ghent at really, really big odds against price to win on the night looked too big to me. So I'm not suggesting you back them on the money line, but I do think it throws up chances to support them, as I say, in the tie in the bet market or the double chance market or something like that. So Ghent or tie in the double chance market, I quite like, as I say, at minus 124. And then it comes to qualify. I'm quite tempted by Ghent here, plus 275 to qualify. Real Betis minus 435 to qualify. Again, the price difference there is huge, isn't it? So I'm going to side with Ghent on the 2 qualify market as well at plus 275, because if they can perform as I think they can tonight, based on how they did at home in the group stage, then I think that price of plus 275 on them to qualify will start to look pretty good.
Yeah, fair play, James. You're really sticking your neck out there. I'm going to predict 1-1 for the first leg. I think your plus a half goal handicap there, or the double chance could well land. Betis, some of these Spanish teams don't play well away, whether it's because they just don't enjoy the surroundings or they just get a little bit lazy, rotate a bit and just think, the home leg, we're fine. That can happen. I wouldn't back Real Betis to qualify at minus 435. But if they don't qualify, I think that'd be a big disappointment for them. So I'm going to predict them qualify, but I certainly wouldn't back them. They just blew a 2-0 lead against Celta Vigo at the weekend. Absolutely destroyed them in the second half, defensively all over the shop. And they seem a bit wide open to me as well. Right, we're done. We just about got it done within an hour, James. What's your best bet of the day in anything here?
Yeah, good shout. So my best bet of the day, I'm going to go with the Ajax bet of the 2. The 2 bets that I had were on the Asian handicap Ajax away from home and FCSB away from home. I'm going to go with that Ajax as my best bet, plus 0.25 on the Asian handicap at minus 121. That is away to Union Saint-Gilloise. I do think Ajax have got a slightly better chance than the market suggests of getting something from that game.
Yeah, for me, I'm going with AZ Alkmaar on the draw no bet today, just on a percentage scale against a depleted team, strong at home. Draw risk is there, but we're not going to lose anything if it's a draw. And then the second best bet, I think it's that one we talked about just now, FC Copenhagen against Sydenham. I think they do get the job done. But loads of other bets and leans that we've had throughout the whole show. We've got through a lot there. Thank you so much, James. Thanks so much to John the Graphics, also producer Troy, and Max behind the scenes. The comments are going through the roof. So the whole production team is really stepping up on these. The Thursday shows are becoming mad at the minute while we've got. So great stuff, James. Thanks, everyone. Best luck, whatever you are taking. It's a little, not so much on the card tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live. I'm going to be joined by Lewis Jones, who's been very good in the Premier League this season because there is a Premier League game on. It is Brighton, I think.
Brighton, I think,
match. Yeah, Brighton-Chelsea is the game tomorrow. So, do catch me and Lewis on Betting Weekly Live tomorrow. Premier League show may well be out already. If it's not, it will be out very, very soon with Nigel, Dan, and Jack. And Betting Weekly Extra Time with me, James, and Dan. That should be released tomorrow. We recorded it earlier. It was a bundle of fun as always. We're on fire with the SGP now, James. 2 winners in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. And a third this weekend coming up, I am sure.
3-peat, hopefully coming up. Thanks, everyone. Bet responsibly. See you next time on Betting Weekly Live.